her like content.
Yeah.
Like once the cards are on the table, let's just say the chips are down, she's eating them. Because
once we lay the chips on the table,
she's eating.
She's putting them on a sandwich and saying, "I do it because I like the crunch.
I like the texture. It's a texture thing." But yeah, she's like her thighs and stuff kind of give it away. Where you're like, oh no, you're just.
There really is.
There's a BBW, and then there's just like, oh no, you're just.
That is really the difference between like thick and fat.
Yeah.
Thick means you're hot. Cause I saw it.
Thick. I feel like implies less jiggle.
Well, also thick implies better
help.
Just shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like a fat chick will a fat chick will have the gut and the arm shit or whatever the fuck. Like a thick girl will just have like the fucking hourglass and all that other shit. It'll just be bigger than the skinny chicks. Dude, I realized too the other day, like, dudes don't have a type, they have a preference.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, like, pretty's pretty. Because I saw, like, don't get me wrong, there will be a bunch of fucking closeted gay dudes on Twitter saying any chick above, like, 140 is fat or whatever. But, like, I saw a chick that would, like, by the numbers be considered fat. Yeah. But I walked by her and I just go, you're, like, the prettiest lady I've ever seen. And she was, like, wearing it well. Where I was just like, oh, yeah, that's why any dude, I get it. Like, my preference is, like, tiny ladies. You've seen my wife. My preference is tiny ladies. And shit, like, and you, as a producer of PITM, you've seen my suggestions and Babe of the Week.
I was gonna say,
but also a pretty big bitch is still a pretty big bitch.
Yeah, I think the key word that you used that works is the shape.
Yeah,
like, because that's the thing is like when it's a big beautiful.
If we're in trouble, can I ride you and get out of there, or are you perfectly round and will I fall off,
brother? This could go into either. Episode of like,
well, actually,
because
maybe we should do No More Heroes since we're being hypercritical of women.
Hey, it's still, hey, ladies, don't worry, we haven't learned anything over the years.
We haven't learned a goddamn thing. But anyway, let's talk about women's sizes.
Yeah, let's talk about this thick broad for 1950s, like 60s time.
Oh, that's a fun one too.
Yeah.
Wait, what were you gonna say?
But like just essentially like. A lot of women would like name themselves like BBW, like big beautiful women, and I think that's for the curvy women and stuff like that. And then there's also women that have like beautiful faces that are just fat.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? Like that. I think the difference like a BBW would be like somebody who is thick and fuck. There's like runway models that are like real thick.
Yeah,
you know, like and what most people would say overweight. Whatever, I don't know, but in general, like you look at them in their underwear and you're like, holy cow, that's incredible. And then there's ladies like that where you're like, oh, you're.
I feel bad.
You're so pale.
Well, it's one thing if you're like there's a huge plethora of people online who will post themselves. They're like, this is my try-on haul, or this is me in a swimsuit, and then they'll be like, I don't care what anyone says. I don't get sad about mean comments, and then they'll be like, stop saying mean comments in the comments,
right.
And you're like, okay, well, like
we all read them. We know.
You're going into this space as like, look at my body, so you got to deal with that. It's
right.
like we go into these spaces being like, we're funny and we know things. So if people are like, you're unfunny and don't know shit, that's par for the course. You have to fucking deal with that.
Yeah.
It's the ones, like I saw this one chick, she actually had a very funny, she was like a pretty fat girl. Uh-huh. She had a very funny Instagram reel where she was like, oh, she's like, I order the fajitas because I love the attention. Ooh, look at me. I got the loudest food. Yeah, look over here. Everyone's eyes on me. Is, you know, something funny like that. And then I look down and I see comments are turned off. And I go, that's when you're being fucking mean.
Yeah, you
when
can't do
she's
that.
just making a joke about fajitas and you know people would be like, no, look at you stupid fat pig. And you're like, dude, chill out.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I think that's I think overall, I think the body, like even like And some may speculate at at the era we're going to be talking about today with the death of Marilyn Monroe that we're going to be uncovering. I think there's
took extensive notes.
Oh no. No, there's a. I think there's in general. There's a. I feel like at this time there's actual like contracts.
Okay.
And there's like stipulations and there's things that people are held to, or studios are like, it's way less balanced justice wise for sure. But like it's like not just body judging, but like you need to keep this figure for the whole time during the shoot. You need to be able to fit into this dress at any time. Like that. Those are the stipulate like literally body constrictions for them. And so it's crazy. So,
it's now I will say this. There is a degree of like it's almost akin to how certain casinos will hire girls as models rather than servers.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, part of this that we want is that you look attractive. And there is an element to movies where it's like, depending on the role, it's like, no, you have to look attractive.
Right.
I think the big difference back then is they were way more upfront and crass about it.
Dude, they were like, it was like, do you know how they used to do, how I used to work at a Hooters in the back. And I was a...
You were there as eye candy for the cooks.
Yeah, exactly.
Still
to
wore
serve
the
them
outfit.
wings. Oh, yeah.
You're just in the back with pom-poms. Great
Yeah.
fajitas, Jorge.
I'm a morale guy. So...
brought it back for morale. And it's just a...
Hi, everybody.
You're in Hooters with a bunch of fucking Mexican dudes that don't realize you're just a fucking
Hey,
dude.
Jorge.
Whoa.
Everything's caliente today, my friend. Huh? Am I right?
Mr. Patrick, muy grande, el bonito.
Yeah, we don't have shorts big enough.
Mr. Patrick, you're so beautiful.
But do you know how they hire... I don't know if it was at all of them, but like Hooters had a stipulation for it was a stool test, and it was not about poop. It was they would make the broad sit on the chair, and if their ass hung over the stool, they wouldn't get hired.
Really?
Yeah, or waitresses and stuff
Is
like
this
that.
back in the day? Because back in the day,
this could have even been as late as the 90s, my friend.
yeah, in the pre-2000,
Yeah.
many people were afraid of the ass.
Never Googled that, but that was the thing. That was like a Richard Gere level thing. Let me just Google that real quick.
Well, no. It's like, oh yeah, and also they had to have gerbils in their asses to get hired at Hooters. No, I actually had a friend in college who worked at Hooters, and luckily enough, she let me watch her try her outfit on one time. Never let me hit. I think she liked the attention and didn't want anything to do with my penis.
Yes, if she's working at Hooters, she absolutely.
But no, dude,
wants
literally,
it.
I was in her dorm room, and she's like showing me, because she was telling me, according to her, at this Hooters she worked at, I'm sure it was a nationwide thing, but they would like figure out your size,
okay,
and almost specifically give you shorts that were about a size or two smaller, so it just pushed your ass up more. And she was telling me about that, and she's like, see, and she's like showing me as she's changing for work and shit, and I was like, wow, it does make your giant ass look a little bit more giant. That's pretty cool. Do you want to show me again?
Did you tip her?
Oh my god, I was so mad because I tried, and she made it very clear. She's like, no, I just want to fuck with you. I don't actually want to let you hit.
So there is no evidence that suggests that Hooters requires or conducts stool tests as part of hiring process. I know that now they don't.
Is that Google AI?
Yes.
I don't know, dude. You gotta be more stingy on these AI. Like when I was looking up stuff, spoiler alert, there wasn't a lot of info about Heavy Petting Zoo, which I'll be talking about in Drag the Lake. And I was asking Grok, and Grok is cool. It'll show you, because AI is basically just looks up a bunch of articles and gives you the best answer from those articles. A bunch of the articles it looked up were just Reddit threads.
Yeah.
And I go, that's not concrete info. So, and also Google AI is the worst of the AIs.
Yeah. So secretly filmed undressing. I will say they did not provide a dressing area for the waitresses at Hooters.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Because the only bathrooms we had were the bathrooms everybody used and all this other shit. So So if it's a Saturday night. It's pretty crazy. Well, I mean, you're already working crazy hard, but it's like you're still like you got to get dressed at work. You got to get ready or something like that.
Crazy hard.
Yeah.
Guys, subscribe, like and subscribe.
Oh, I just got it.
Say that's why you're a good co-host. The yes anding when you don't even understand the joke
absolutely
is much appreciated.
Go for it. Yeah. But there is no documented evidence of the stool test, but I do believe that is.
I'm inclined to believe that because honestly, pre-2000, like white America was scared of an ass.
Like it wasn't in the training video.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but like so like it was. So at some point they were like, you need.
Yeah, and neither was your boss fingering the servers.
Exactly.
But that was a part of the job too.
But they had this. There was actually a retarded guy that used to come there all the time, and he would actually get caught jerking off in the bathroom multiple times, and they had to eventually trespass him because he was.
Wait, they had to.
He was like kind of like their like mascot for a little bit. Like he was like, oh yeah, we love. I don't remember his name, Timmy, whatever. And he was just like, and like would eat there every day and loved to look at the waitresses and all that shit.
Yeah.
And they caught him beating multiple times in the bathroom. And they were like, dude, you gotta stop. Everybody else, they were like, you, Pat, stop. I mean, whoever, John.
Whoever.
Like I said,
El Pate.
I'm just making up names,
El Patarino.
But like there was multiple times that were, I from my experience, they were a lot more lax at that time by the 2000s, but I had heard multiple allegations of a stool type test or a body type test or whatever that you needed to
I could see that because that is kind of the selling point of Hooters is like you have to be hot in a way that makes simps like me go, I don't love you.
I think she likes me.
She's so fucking dude. That's why I stopped going to strip clubs. I just like, dude. My buddy back in Jersey, Alex, booked me on a show that they do at a Hooters, and it's just like I love that so much. Where they put on too much makeup, and they push their tits up, and they're just like, "How you doing, sweetheart?" And you're like, "I love you all. I love you all so much.
Yeah.
I can't be there. I can't be in those places." But the thing, so. I'm very curious because you probably did more extensive research than I did. I definitely read a bunch, listened to some podcasts and stuff. But the hard thing I want to sort of talk to you about with this one is, before we get to the actual murder, is the general thing of Marilyn. Because everything I looked up about Marilyn Monroe, they were just harping on, they're like, so get this. It was pretty tough being a female actor in the 60s. And you're like, yeah. It's like, did you ever see the Problem with Apu documentary?
No, but actually I did just see a clip with the guy, Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria?
He
got bullied out of doing all the voices?
Well, he was talking about like why it was not like why he personally, well, like when he like it clicked with him at least, and I think it was, I like getting a paycheck. But it was something like that. But I just saw something in reference to that. Sorry, I didn't.
No, it's but it was like, there's a lot of these documentaries where, don't get me wrong, it's completely fucking useful to give you like modern context. Or sorry, not modern context, but like context of how it was, what the vibe was back in the day. But I think that's good. But then like, sometimes these things, they get super bogged down, and they get bogged down in the fact that it used to suck ass. Because I watched the whole Problem with Apu documentary.
Yeah.
You want to know the synopsis of it?
Huh.
Back in the 80s and 90s, it was really hard to be taken seriously as an Indian actor.
Yeah.
And now it's not.
Right.
We're super sad.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. You guys were new to the scene. We didn't take you seriously. You were a punchline. And then we were like, oh, fuck, we're dickheads.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now you can be a doctor character, but you're not a doctor because you're an Indian. You're a doctor because you're a good actor.
Okay, yeah. That's what I was saying too. Like, I wasn't sure about like the stereotypes. Like, I just know of tons of times, or not at least tons of times, but multiple times where like Hispanic people would play Native Americans.
Yeah. Or Italians would play Native Americans.
Or white people, or any of that shit. Where it's just like
they're white people would put on blackface
and all of that. True cinema. Whatever.
Good acting.
But then there's like shit in like Short Circuit where like the guy who's playing the Indian guy is not Indian at all.
Yeah,
And you're
it's
like,
insane.
what? Wait. I was like, that's the stuff where I'm like, okay, I can like where there are Indian people who can play this character.
Yeah.
Or not only that, but also like comedic people. Like even if they need to pour it on with the accent, or they need to be a stereotype or whatever like that, at least hire an Indian person to do that stereotype. Don't have a guy wear fucking makeup.
Don't hire an Italian guy and give him makeup.
But like in a time like the 50s and 60s where, you know, I don't know if this was still a time where they were like cigarettes are, you know, prescribed by doctors and
like in the middle of
and,
the doctor's appointment, the doctor's lighting up a cigarette to tell you when your baby's due.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so like it's I don't want to be like that's not even like being like a white apologist. It's literally just being, or a male apologist or anything. But a human being apologist of like, I don't know, like why'd you sign the contract that said you can wear you have to be this size, you have to do this, and not to, and I'm not saying to victim blame, but I'm just saying to say like because that's how it was done at the time.
Well,
like,
no, and that also too
goes,
like
here's the standard contract.
That also too kind of goes in hand with the point I was then going to make about Marilyn Monroe, where a lot of this reminds me of, I watched this documentary about Pamela Anderson, and it's like Pamela Anderson now, and she kind of heavily implies that I was about to have the biggest movie career and everyone was going to take me seriously.
Yeah.
But it was the sex tape is why no one took me seriously as an actor. And I'm like, I mean, it didn't help.
Yeah.
But you also weren't good at that. And that's like a big question I have with Marilyn Monroe. Because as I was going through all this stuff, I go, you know, there was a lot of like, you know, women weren't being taken seriously, which was true. But there are also a lot of moments of like, Marilyn Monroe did also seem like a dumb broad.
Well, not just like a dumb broad, but like somebody who was so like we can get into it a little bit.
Yeah, that's how I was trying to bring it back.
So Norma Jean.
Sorry, I had to take Indian people down a peg real quick.
Norma Jean Mortensen. Well, it's just in general of like it's still totally a standard. But what the point I started to make forever ago, I feel like 15 minutes ago, was like in the day, like back in the day, the studios, it was super blatant. It was it's in your contract. This is the thing that
just on Front Street.
Like this is business. Like and it was a literal business. But then like empowerment, yada yada. Women start burning the bras, and then they start getting at least to feel more empowered. But then I feel like even that gets overtaken to where like then it's like beauty magazines and all of fashion and all this other stuff, which is a lot of women are the ones who do that or intake that,
and it's also women on women crime,
right? So like it's a thing.
And gay dudes, you're also part of that problem. Gay dudes,
it's a situation where it's like it has always continued, much like, you know, racism, all this other stuff, but it's still
thank God
over time it's adapted and it's progressed, but not nearly as much I think as the people would like.
Yeah,
but it's still a situation where like at this time, but she has also, and I'm sure this is a theme back in the day in general, but like a very rocky childhood. So Norma Jean Mortensen, or later on she was baptized Norma Jean Baker. I don't understand that. What?
You know what's funny? I looked up, named after a hardcore band. Yeah, because they were like,
well, she was she came from a very Christian household. So Norma Jean Baker was born on June 1st, 1926. Never knew her father, and only saw a picture that her mother
and acted like it.
Well, dude, this is crazy. Her mother never told her his name, but later on she always thought he looked.
Move.
She always thought he looked like Clark Gable.
Okay.
And she actually ended up co-starring with him in another film that was named after a punk band, The Misfits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize how much punk rock and heavy music inspired movies decades before those bands even came out.
Yeah. And then also the song We Are 138 actually inspired the movie THX 1138.
That's so weird how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Shout out to Glenn Danzig. So, but she always thought the picture looked like Clark Gable, and that's actually who she ended up co-starring with. But she didn't actually tell her until like many years later that essentially she showed her the picture like throughout and was like, yeah, that's your dad.
But just would never say his name?
Yeah. Just never gave her any info.
Is there
any
info
background.
about her dad out there?
Not as far as I could find.
I'm just wondering if he was just like, was he just like the worst dude?
Also, I feel like YouTube wanted to call me on my bullshit from the last episode where I talked about they couldn't find interviews with Jim Morrison's parents.
Yeah.
I found one with his dad and his sister.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, like right after that, I was in my 4
So
year, and I was
you're
like, all right.
No,
like,
it's here. You're just bad at Googling.
shut up. I Googled.
Oh,
pretty
which
good.
sidebar? We should say, we're really sorry, Val Kilmer. We didn't mean to. I feel like we did that
Yeah.
with all the episodes and
Yeah.
the Val Kilmer shit talking.
I hope we did.
All right, I didn't realize we were going heel. Take it back.
Yeah.
Sayonara, loser.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought we were just claiming it.
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta text Dom real quick.
I saw some great posts where someone put I forget the name of the Western he was in, but someone posted the picture of the Western and they were like, always a badass. And I go, you know that's a movie.
Yeah.
He didn't-
Tombstone.
He didn't Tombstone, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it was. Y'all go, you know he didn't do that.
Yeah.
People do that all the time. They're like they like treat they see a character in a movie and they love the movie he played and they're like, he's that character. Liam Neeson goes around and beats people up all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely him. Well,
Yeah.
actually, there was a situation I remember.
Where he's really racist.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that. He was
Right.
saying he was gonna.
He was walking around intending to.
He was thinking about it.
But also, so within 2 weeks of Marilyn's birth,
Ooh.
her mother placed her in foster care,
Oh yeah.
and she was in and out of a mental institution. Her mom was in and out
Yeah.
of mental institutions, and she never really actually like had a relationship with her mom until like many years later.
Mm-hmm.
So Monroe was in 12 foster families, which caused her, all of which caused her some kind of abuse, neglect, or assault.
Do you think like giving up your kid like that? Because I've been getting into serial killers more, and I was just listening to a thing about Ed Gein, and he had a similar not a similar one. No, he had a situation where it was like his mom pretended to be his aunt his whole life and shit like that. And I was like, and then you telling me that, I'm like, I wonder if that was more popular back in the day because you just could. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like having social media and the fact that when your kid grows up, he might blow up your spot on Facebook.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't just, like, abandon your child. You can definitely abandon the hell out of your kid nowadays. I see people do it.
Well, back in the day, like that was a thing. Fostering kids was like a business.
Yeah.
So like she was in and out of like foster, like they were like getting her as a as a foster kid, and then she was just like too much of an issue for them because of her mental illnesses and her issues and stuff like that. It was too problematic to have her, so they just would pawn her off to another family.
No shit.
And like essentially, she just kind of like was batted around, like physically assaulted, mentally abused, neglected, assaulted, sexually assaulted, all these other things, all through like the 12 different families. And like very rarely was she ever, I think it was like not until like she was like in her teens until she like caught up with her mom again.
Yeah.
And which was also not very stable. So like she was doomed from the start. Like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, though, she is a very I can almost see some analogies with her and like Bad Baby, where you'll see some of the stuff with like, oh my God, Bad Baby. She puts out an OnlyFans the day she turns 18, which is not good, but you do gotta think this is the best timeline for her. This is the best like if we did the multiverse theory on Bad Baby, all the other ones are way worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
All the other ones, I think the current timeline she's in is the best way it could possibly go for her. And it's like there is a thing where you almost got to give, I am making jokes the whole time, but you do got to give Marilyn Monroe props where it's like, you shouldn't have been even a tenth of as successful as you are.
Yeah.
Like you got, oh, there we go. He had a couple.
Yeah.
It was so funny. But yeah, dude, she life really, really punched her in the cunt a bunch of times, and she got up every single time.
Every single time, and that's the thing is like, this is again with the amount of like she just wanted it so bad, and was able to. I'll admit this, and I don't want to like. I know I got done speaking ill of Val Kilmer as well as somewhat of Jim Morrison as well, but. I don't mind speaking ill of the dead, I guess. But Marilyn Monroe, although very tortured soul, I don't understand the appeal because not necessarily lighting it up on the screen, heavily drugged for sure. She was for sure on a lot of drugs most of her life.
Okay.
But also like I think if it wasn't for the opportunity, and I'm not saying this is a good thing either, but if it wasn't for the opportunity of her being manipulated into these situations, I don't know how else she would have gotten into acting or anything like that. She literally started right after this time. She ended up posing for some nude pictures not long after in her teens, like I think 18, 19.
Yeah, I think it's.
I want to say 18, 19, just because I've looked at them.
You're like I want to say I also want to pray to God that they're 18. I think the Marilyn Monroe popularity is very similar to how there's certain people now where you're like they're not untalented, but I don't get why they're that popular. I think it's a mixture of. It's like anyone, how they say, like fame is talent meets opportunity or whatever the fuck it is. It's like you can't get that big without some sort of a machine behind her. But also at the same time, I'm looking up pictures. I mean, you gotta also. Like, people will make jokes where they'll be like, oh, really? You guys thought this was hot back in the day? Now, I think Marilyn Monroe's pretty fucking hot. Yeah. I think I look up her pictures, I get horny, I go into the other room, and I masturbate, guys. Like, a lot. But I think Marilyn Monroe's pretty hot. But you also got to remember, like, bro, you remember, dude, I did, and you probably did as well. We jerked it to some Girls Gone Wild commercials.
Yeah.
Now, in 2025, jerking it to a commercial with titties covered up is psychotic. Like, if I paid for an OnlyFans the other day and she censored out her puss, I wanted to fucking flip a table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, when I was in high school, brother, I could jerk off to anything. So now you got to put yourself in, like, the 50s, where there's fucking nothing. The only the most tits you see every day is probably your fucking mom's.
Well,
and then you see a picture of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
I mean, brother.
He ended up this is my essentially I wanted to say this. I was trying to say that as lightly as possible. But
I was not.
but as like saying like the reason I feel like she got the opportunities that she did was because of her. Like, and this is why I don't buy the Pamela Anderson thing.
Acting?
And also the Kim Kardashian thing is, like, Kim Kardashian, I think, and Marilyn Monroe are both situations where they were able to eat. And if you're able to do that in the 50s and 60s.
I mean, dude, that's wild.
She's beautiful.
That's good stuff.
But
also, she's not just like, not to cut you off, I apologize. She's not just like beautiful. She also kind of is like, oh, she's hot.
She's
sexy. She's not just like a beautiful, elegant woman. She can be if she needed to, but she can also be like, oh, she's kind of a sexy chick you don't want to bring to mom and dad.
So she's super like glamorous, but she's coming from such a crazy, troubled, and dangerous past, including posing naked for pictures for like a couple $100 or something, like to pay rent or something.
Yeah.
It was like, so like she did this and was able to, again, get into situations where she's acting. We're not here to talk about her necessarily her whole career. I'm trying to figure out how we got to a situation where she would die from overdosing or how they want what they want you to believe.
Yeah, and I think that we don't need to be bogged down with like her previous life and stuff. I think we kind of hit the nail and like we kind of hit the main things where it was like a lot of abuse, history of drug use and stuff like that. I think she was very gorgeous, but and I truthfully I haven't really seen any of her films, so I'm just going to accept that she was very talented in films and shit like that. I'm sure she was pretty good for her time.
I think she's very charismatic. Your eye is drawn to her, obviously.
Yeah.
And she is somebody who is able to like to work. She's like malleable, essentially.
Yeah.
And like again, she's somebody who is, I think, because of her past traumas, her PTSDs, and her mental issues, is somebody who is able to be manipulated quite easily.
Yeah.
So like that, I think that's the situation where like that's at this time the best things to make like a starlet is if you can't sing, dance, and act and do all this crazy shit from like theater, then you have to be appealing.
Yeah,
I guess,
and I
somewhat.
think her general demeanor mixed with like the drug abuse and her mental health issues and stuff, it does strongly correlate into a sort of general way of being day to day that I do act no fault of. Well, fault is an interesting conversation in this, specifically based off how I think she was technically murdered.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, so when I got done looking through all the stuff about her murder, I believe murder, not a suicide. It was one of those things where I go, it wasn't your fault, but it was very avoidable.
I think this was it was, and this is somewhat tied to it, whether it be the Kennedys, the possible mob, and or all this other shit, but like it's very similar to Jimmy Hoffa's death, very avoidable.
Yeah,
like, it's like a thing where.
What were the key points of that? I'm not familiar.
Well, Jimmy Hoffa was somebody who was trying to take on the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Tried to keep them from getting John F. Kennedy elected, but then when his brother was appointed into Congress, no, what was it? Supreme Court?
No, are you talking about Robert?
Yeah.
Senate maybe? I
Senate,
forget
yeah.
specifically.
Essentially,
well,
then they started going after Hoffa.
Wait, he got that's right. He got elected, and then he was going for a higher position, and then that's when he got murdered.
But yeah, so like Jimmy Hoffa just kept fucking with the mob, kept fucking with the Kennedys.
Yeah.
And was essentially when the mob was like, hey, like you gotta stop.
Yeah.
You've already gone to jail. You can't really be involved with the mob anymore.
He was the one that was like, he was the first mobster that kind of wanted to be like a public figure.
No. Well, he was a union rep.
Okay.
So like he was a union boss who ended up working and getting loans from the mob.
Gotcha.
And essentially using mob help to bully other union bosses and take over, blah blah blah, take over, yada yada yada. Went to jail for wire, whatever. This is not talking about Jimmy Hoffa, but the connection of the Kennedys, the mob, all this other shit of like they were wild back then. They would just take out whoever.
The best way to do shit like this, like if I was making, oh hi, we're back.
Hey.
We had to Pat's your wife.
My wife.
There was a flat tire incident, and then there was a Whataburger incident, and it's very funny because your bad day actually made my day better.
Oh yeah,
I got Whataburger.
Yeah, that's true.
I had to do very little for it.
You were a good bro, and I feel like it was just essentially I essentially just used you as an Uber, really.
Really?
But I instead of paying you in money, I paid
Which
you.
means he gave me head in the back seat, and then I gave him head for the Whataburger.
I gave him a humor.
We really just set up a lot. Our lives are elaborate ways to figure out how to give each other head.
Yeah.
Oh, but I was saying,
Can't just all be Brokeback, baby.
jumping back in on the episode.
Going camping again.
And a lot of stuff about Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
It's a similar complaint we've had before about a lot of these true crime documentaries where they keep hitting you over the head with the same fucking sad point. And I think the best way to do a Marilyn Monroe documentary or movie would to be like start at one of the most notable points of her life and then like have certain moments in the movie where you see her acting a certain type of way. You could hit them with a flashback to her childhood to be like, oh, this and this and this is why she's into drugs. Like there could be a scene in the movie where it's like, hey Marilyn, here's your cocaine, and then it's like, psh, this is why I love cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, like you hear about the 12 foster homes or foster families that she stayed with or whatever, 2 weeks after birth being put into foster care. Like, it's never having a relationship with her mother, not having any of that stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, like so it kind of does make sense of like, in general, why she would self-medicate and a lot of things. But
100%.
This from her Wikipedia. This was I had to finally find like a formulated like area because I watched a couple documentary things on YouTube. A lot of the interviews, which was really interesting, with like her housekeeper. I thought you were leaving.
I got the Whataburger. I got the Whataburger.
My day's good, and I'm done.
Sorry, I always adjust my shorts and I just fully stand up.
Right in frame. Hold on a second. And okay, make sure my balls are centered. Good. No.
Yeah, I'm just like up here, like, no, Pat, go.
Yeah,
just go.
All right, I'm reading. I promise. But like it was interviews with like her housekeeper. I think it was basically, I don't know what you would call her. Housekeeper.
Yeah.
Eunice Murray, her psychiatrist, her personal physician, the first officer on the scene, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, but we'll get into that. Just we'll skip ahead a little bit. For several years,
yada yada a little.
She's had a wonderful career of being this smoke show. Her fucking marriage to Joe DiMaggio, the famous.
That was rough, right?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. He was quite the abuser, apparently.
Is this strong?
And you know Is
this strong?
Pretty kind of. You want to try it?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we're early into the episode.
I was real anxious earlier today, contemplating maybe I need a little weed to level me out,
Maybe
but not
just a
to
little.
not to
This
sidetrack.
this is just jelly.
What?
This is just grape jelly. This is not.
It's just vaporized jelly. Oh no! This is actually 20 milligrams of jelly.
Yeah. It's strong though.
It's preservative.
Yeah.
It's actually.
It might as well be marmalade. I'm being honest with you. You might as well call it jam, homie.
You take a puff. You're looking around. Actually, it's jam. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But so Marilyn Monroe. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Her marriage to Joe DiMaggio. You know
Joe DiMaggio.
It's the bullshit. The scene with her in 7 Year Itch with the blowing their dress down.
Yeah.
You know that thing? That apparently like pushed him over the edge, and like he literally like just hated. He wanted her to be a housewife. He wanted to turn Marilyn Monroe into a housewife. I just thought of that.
You know, fun fact about Joe DiMaggio.
Tell me, Daddy-o.
Is he was listening to the Billy Joel song "We Didn't Start the Fire," and when he goes Joe DiMaggio, he actually went. He's like, "That's a really good name."
Yeah,
I'm gonna go by that.
Oh, that's how he got.
That's
his name.
how he got his name.
Oh, that's really Before that, he was Jim Finkelstein.
No, Joe DeSmithio.
He was Franklin DeFisio. DeFistio. But no. So
we're having fun, dude.
getting back to the serious stuff.
How crazy is it you can laugh and learn?
This is news. With a twist. This is for what do they say? This is for educational purposes. I promise. These are facts. These are actual things that are reported. I'm just giving the quick framework, like I did with Mr. Jim Morrison last week. Basically, this is how we got to early childhood.
Yeah.
Yes, she had a lot of stardom, but like the entire time, apparently, she's for several years heading into the early '60s. Marilyn Monroe had been dependent on amphetamines, barbiturates, and alcohol, and she experienced various mental health problems that included depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. I mean,
God, can you imagine?
Chronic insomnia was. I think that's going to end up being her downfall. But what?
Can you imagine the early fucking 1940s and 50s methods of losing weight she was using?
Right.
Where it's like you don't got Ozempics, you have to like fucking just do whatever, because it's like You got to imagine abusing all those drugs and drinking that much, and then still being able to look that hot in the 50s has to be a fucking an effort.
Right, like when you need to, again, this is self-medication, because even if she's going to like the mental health ward, or she's like, if anything, they're gonna, so she has like her housekeeper, but she's also got like some of the people involved that are like in where she's discovered, are at least the people that are named are her physician, her therapist.
You caught me. It was me.
And he gets up. I'm just adjusting my shorts again. I gotta go.
I just go like,
You just drop the mic.
You just hear. Psh.
But like it's like she's got like a physician. So this also could.
He's got a team. She got a team.
This could be like a Michael Jackson scenario.
Jackson,
which by the way we could add to the list.
I was thinking about it.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Good job. Hey.
We could do that. Blame the Jews on stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that she might have had maybe not a propofol guy, but a barbiturate guy.
Yeah.
So also, there's some questionable things that are toxicology, but she ain't dead yet.
Because like she does have her moments where, because I do think her death is a result of yapping, but at the same time. And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she does seem like someone who had a team around her that may have looked at her more as a product than an actual lady.
Well, this is there's an interesting thing even with like her contracts and shit like that going forward, that like over time it's a pretty good through line. Come on, Stanley, you got clearance, buddy. Brother. Don't believe in yourself. Don't believe in yourself. But there's like weird clauses. So like as far as like reputation of the studios, like making contracts with her, very difficult. So, but that's because she's got this reputation that she has for being difficult to work with, and she frequently delayed productions by being late for film sets. In addition to having trouble remembering her lines. So that's why like when they like the Pam Anderson thing, you're like. Yeah, you're fucked up all the time. Yeah. You're not doing a great job of acting. Yeah. We're not going to reward this.
Like, oh, why didn't I get...
You're still hot. You're still in the movie.
You're like, oh, why didn't I get more serious movie roles? It's like, oh, you're just bad at the job.
Yeah.
Nothing personal.
Yeah, it's just because you can't remember your lines. You're late to set. You're not great to... And usually when you're here, you're fucked up.
I will say this, though. There is an element of back in the day of, like, being difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Where he was like, I didn't get my 3 p.m. blowjob.
Yeah.
What a fucking uptight bitch.
Monroe. Motherfucking Monroe.
You gotta suck off the gaffer or else we can't... We're burning daylight.
She also had an open file...
Ooh.
At the FBI, my friend, since 1956, due to her, quote, problematic relationship with accused communist author Arthur Miller.
Oh, yeah.
In by 1960, Monroe's behavior was adversely affecting her career. For example, although this is very much compiled in Wikipedia. This is not my personal wording. If anybody's wondering, how is Pat so thought out with his notes on this one? This is a lot of Wikipedia. Well, because again, the notes I have are like a lot of the from the interviews I witnessed, like the things and stuff like that. I just want to get again these nailing these facts down. But we have sorry, I lost it. Having trouble. So she, for example, in 1960. Monroe's was affecting her career adversely, although she was a preferred choice of author Truman Capote to play Holly Golightly in the film adaptation Breakfast at Tiffany's. Paramount Pictures declined to cast her due to fear that she would complicate the film's production. The two films Monroe completed in the 1960s, Let's Make Love in 1960s, and the one that they named after the punk band, the Misfits, in 1961, were both commercial failures. During the filming of the latter, she had to spend a week detoxing in the hospital. Her third marriage to Arthur Miller also ended in divorce in 1961. So she's not... Like I think her substances...
Dude, it's like, I feel like someone...
Like you want to say murdered, but you're also like, I mean, she's not. It's not trending up for her. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, it's just funny too, where a lot of people will be like, "Yeah, but you got to understand the time and how in her childhood." I go, "Hey, here's the thing: all these chicks got raped back in the day, and they figured it out." I'm just kidding. Okay, all right.
No, he's not. He was saying it off camera.
I'm not. I laughed to hide the realness of what I meant. No, Oh, the other thing I was gonna say, you were saying too about the difficult to work with or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And then because it always reminds me of a thing wrestling fans will have a complaint of, where like, how's WWE dropping the ball on so and so? They're such a good wrestler, and it's like, brother, you don't know if they're like a dick at catering or they like mouthed off to the boss. You know what I mean? Like, you could be, you could make a shit ton of money for a lot of people, but there's a point. If you're just a fucking nightmare to be around, there's a fucking point to all that.
Yeah. I think
a limit to all that, I mean.
Well, there's also with her, with like Marilyn Monroe in particular, with like a lot of these cases with like being problematic and all this other things, it's her, I think, self-medicating through trauma after and then even continuing into like having like to be like so self-conscious and like and nervous about, and like also contractually having to keep a certain body type and a body figure and everything like that. Also, smile a little bit more. Why blah blah blah, you got to do this and you got to do this and that. Also, you got to, and then remembering, I know from at least from fighting and stuff like that, for like watching like a lot of MMA, if you're dehydrated, you're dying.
Yeah.
So essentially she would probably have to be excessively dehydrated a lot of the time.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
She is like not thinking perfectly. So like it doesn't necessarily mean that she's not a great actress or that she doesn't have she obviously has charisma. It's not just her sex appeal necessarily. Like, she has a presence about her, and there's a charm about her. But once she's deep in this, she's I think 36 when she dies. Like, by that time, it's not that like, oh, you're old news, sweetheart, blah blah blah. It's like after like 20 solid years of fucking every day getting fucked up, blah blah blah, depleting yourself. Like, but the only thing you ever steadily eat is alcohol and pills.
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
Well, actually, to do another wrestling reference, there's like an older wrestler, R-Truth.
Yeah.
He'll hop in the ring and people were like, can you believe he's going at his age? And you're like, yeah. I'm not taking anything away from him. R-Truth's the fucking man. But also, you guys got to remember, he hasn't worked a regular schedule in like a decade or two. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, he's in better condition, but then it's like you could see some of the old school wrestlers, like... you go, it's so funny because there is another thing too with wrestling where it's like a lot of the old school wrestlers, it's like, oh yeah, they're dropping like flies. What's going on? It's like, well, they punish their body and abuse drugs their entire life. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, if you don't take care of yourself, it's easier to get KO'd earlier in life.
And actually that's the literal translation in general. Like if you're depleting your body, you don't have as much liquid around your brain. You're not thinking clearly. You could be actually damaging yourself. So also, if she's getting banged up by her husband, sorry to laugh at that. I don't know why banged up is a way to put being assaulted by your loved ones and or studio heads. But if you're getting roughed up by any of these people, and you're
getting
also
in a tussle,
you literally could be doing damage to your brain. So, like, with addition of having this mental illness in her actual genes, her family, also like doing damage to the brain could add to that. Was there anything in there specifically about her being like bulimic or anything? Because I know that also like fucks with your body. I didn't know, but I didn't see bulimic. I did see that she was manic depressive.
Yeah.
So like that was another thing of she would have bipolar episodes. Things of that like nature. Obviously, substance abuse,
a lot of wear and tear on
sexual abuse, sexual assault, like regular assault, going through the foster care system in that time was just like
the worst prison ever.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. Like
literally in the application process, they're like, all right, how many bedrooms do you have? 3. Will you rape the children?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. My husband's away at war, but when he gets back, we will rape them. Don't
maybe,
worry.
just in case, because I don't know if, my husband sometimes he
how
drinks
many
a lot.
people in the house will be raping?
But there's just overall, there's like a she suffered from mental illness, substance abuse. She had not completed the film since The Misfits, about the band, which was released on February 1st of 1961, which was a box office disappointment, unfortunately. Monroe had spent 1961 preoccupied with her various health problems, and in April of 1962 had begun filming Something's Got to Give for 20th Century Fox. The studio fired her in early June.
What?
Fox publicly blamed Monroe for the production's problems, and in the weeks preceding her death, she had attempted to repair her public image by giving several interviews to high-profile publications. She also began negotiations with Fox being rehired for Something's Gotta Give and for the starring roles in other productions.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So this is where I think we're going to get into some of your stuff, too. On May 19th...
All 3 of my sentences?
Monroe took a break from filming to sing Happy Birthday on stage at the U.S. President John F. Kennedy's birthday celebration at Madison Square Garden 10 days before his actual birthday.
Dude, if you're listening to this...
Caused a great bit of publicity for Monroe, but also significant speculation about extramarital affairs of President and concerns for the government agents.
If you're listening to this, pause real quick. Go look up her singing to him. It's insane.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it in a really long time.
Don't open that thread in public.
Dude, for real. Like, it's the most... she might as well have just been like, I want to suck your dick, Mr. It's like so breathy and horny.
Yeah. If she was close enough to touch him, I think she probably would have grabbed for his dick.
Jiggled his balls at minimum.
Yeah. It was nuts. So,
but wasn't she like... Hadn't she been fucking the president
I think so, yeah.
for a while at that point?
But at this point, like if there was any speculation, maybe there's rumors.
Oh, it was like confirmed. Like is what you're saying.
When you see that performance, and I think everybody knows. Like the thing that I said earlier with the subway grate and her dress getting pushed up. Like everybody knows that image. Everybody knows what we're referencing. But like really watch the performance.
Yeah,
because it's like it's breathy.
Yeah,
it's sexy as fuck.
It
is horny as hell.
I was in the middle HEB, fully erect.
That would be a request if Marilyn Monroe was still alive. Like she would be doing those for cameo.
Like, Miss Monroe, we have a sick boy in the hospital. Could you do your horny happy birthday for him?
Happy birthday, Dylan. From your pap.
What?
Because she would be old now.
Oh, okay.
She couldn't do it sexy anymore.
Wouldn't she say Graham? Not Pap. That also triggered me because literally
it's a cameo.
My grandfather on my mom's side, we called him Pap. So I was like, Pap would never try to get me that horny.
Fuck that whore.
He would never make me horny.
After Monroe returned to Los Angeles, she resumed filming and celebrated her 36th birthday on set of Something's Got to Give, which she got rehired on apparently.
That's good.
June 1st, she was given. She was again absent for several days. Oh wait, no, that's what I guess led her to get. She got fired on June 7th, and they sued her for breach of contract, demanding $750,000 in damages. Monroe was replaced by Lee Remick.
And what year was this? The mid '60s.
This was in. Where the fuck is it? Yeah, this was...
Is it near her death?
May 19th. Yeah, 1962, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, 62. So this is like $700,000. It's like...
$750,000 is a lot.
That's got to be now pushing like $2 million.
But after co-star Dean Martin refused to make the film with anyone other than Monroe, Fox sued him as well and shut down the production. So...
so you're saying they were probably up there like, this is crazy. Something's got to give.
They're like, God damn it, we gotta keep this going.
Something's gotta give.
Something's gotta give. Monroe spent the day of her death August 4th, at her home in Brentwood, she was accompanied by various times by publicist Patricia Newcomb, housekeeper Eunice Murray, photographer Lawrence Schiller. She's got a fucking photographer there, and they still don't.
See them titties? Thank God.
And psychiatrist Ralph Greenson. At Greenson's request, Murray stayed overnight to keep Monroe company. At approximately 3 a.m. on Sunday, August 5th, Murray noticed that Monroe had locked herself in the bedroom and appeared unresponsive when she looked inside through a window. Murray started... Actually, I also saw another report of, like, somebody saw a phone cord underneath the door. And she's like, that's weird. She's like, normally, like, when she goes to... She's in bed by now, and she would... she unplugged the phone.
Yeah.
So, like, they're like, that's weird. Monroe spent her day. So, she locked herself in her bedroom and appeared unresponsive when she looked through a window. Murray alerted Greenson, who arrived soon after, entered the room by breaking the window, and found Monroe dead. Her death was officially ruled a probable suicide by Los Angeles coroner's office, based on the information, her overdosing being prone to mood swings and suicidal ideation. So that's what that, I guess, despite the coroner's
I think
findings.
Doesn't that mean like it's basically like suicidal tendencies? Do you think she just needed a Pepsi?
It could be it. I don't know. They didn't try any Kendall Jenner. Yeah, not No More Heroes, just Drag the Lake.
For that joke to make sense.
Oh.
Subscribe to Drag the Lake.
Despite the coroner's findings, several conspiracy theories suggesting murder or accidental overdose have been proposed since the mid-1960s. Many of these involve U.S. President John F. Kennedy, obviously, his brother Robert F. Kennedy, as well as Union leader Jimmy Hoffa and mob boss Sam Giancana. Because of the
name down on my paper.
Prevalence. Oh, no, that's one of the notes?
That's one of the names.
I took one of yours.
Because I looked at the mob angle only.
Oh, good. Well, that's the thing. That's so like Giancana is also obviously involved with the Hoffa disappearance too. So like they're just wilding at this point.
Yeah.
Like they do like Monroe, Kennedy, Hoffa. Like they're just like these huge public figures. They're just able to go like.
Yeah, because 1960.
They could just they're just doing it right in front of everybody.
Right from our eyes.
They found no evidence to support that it was like so like because of the prevalence of these theories in the media, the office of the Los Angeles County District Attorney reviewed the case in 1982, but found no evidence to support and did not disagree with the findings of the original investigation. However, the report concealed factual discrepancies and unanswered questions remained in the case. So, like, that's the thing is, like, the timeline is really weird.
So, okay, speaking on the timeline,
yeah,
let me hop in to the thing I was thinking about with why I think the mob killed her. Because there was a great time you brought up Sam Giancana, and it's kind of because so basically the shit I was checking out, there was saying the short version is basically like Marilyn Monroe. She was getting involved with she was married to Joe DiMaggio,
right,
who, from what I'd read, had like loose mob ties. And then she was hanging out with Sinatra a little bit. Like Sinatra bought her a dog, which this also too is the sticking point of like I think she's just a dippy broad because Sinatra got her a dog. Maybe Sinatra got her a dog, and she named him Mafi, short for Mafia, as according to what I read. Just
dippy broad.
Just a dippy broad.
This is like the Hoffa thing I was telling you about, like the Hoffa connection of like where you're like Hoffa, not to Vince McMahon it, but like Hoffa killed Hoffa. If he had so many warnings where they're like, dude, stop pushing us.
Yeah.
We'll kill you.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh yeah, you won't kill me. And they're like, he's like, what if I go on the news and say? He's like, no, he's not actually going to go on the news.
Yeah.
And then he goes and they're like, gonna kill him.
Yeah, you're like, it's so funny to be so funny to be like, you're not gonna kill me. You're like, it's the big thing we do.
That's the main thing we do. We did it for you.
We sell things illegally and we kill people.
You can't get away with that. Like the same thing with Marilyn Monroe. They are literally killing huge public figures in the 60s.
Yeah.
Whether it be the mob, the FBI, them working together with the CIA, against the CIA, whatever the fuck it is.
But that was going back. So she's with Sinatra. I'm pretty sure she was like fucking Frank Sinatra. And then she meets the Kennedys. The Kennedys become more powerful. There's like these reports that she apparently. I was talking to Steph about this. Steph pushed back on it, and I thought it was just like some made up bullshit. Where it was not made up, but like the reasoning was made up. Apparently, Marilyn Monroe had like a fucking journal.
Yeah.
And she'd be around. Dude, she's around mob people and higher-ups in the government, and she's jotting down everything they say.
Right.
And she's doing that allegedly so she can look up stuff and learn about it later so she can have something to say in conversation.
I think whether Dippy Broad or not, knew that what she was fucking around with could have been potentially crazy.
Yeah.
And was trying somewhat to keep some kind of paper trail.
I think she kept that as an insurance policy, and it ended up being part of what got her got.
Yeah.
Because I think over the years, basically, the Kennedys he gets into fucking presidency. She becomes, I think it correlated with her singing to the president.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point they started realizing like she's a huge liability. Because you got to think back in the day, like when Kennedy was president, everyone would have. It was the time where everyone would have a framed picture of the president in their house.
Yeah.
If it becomes just known, like not just rumors, if it becomes known that the president is cheating on his wife,
the first hot first lady ever, Jackie O,
at the time,
the first hot one.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That
was the first hot one of all time.
I'll give you that.
That's like, because like I'm not saying the hottest of all time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying have a little respect. George Washington, he's on number one bill for something. You know what I'm saying? He's the first one.
Did you ever see that picture where she's scooping up JFK's brains?
Hot as fuck.
Dump her on that bitch.
Nobody's got the back angle. That's the angle I want.
That's the
I want a
angle,
picture from the bridge.
Yeah, there's a second shooter, Pat. This fucking guy.
You know what I'm saying? Like that could be the first upskirt of all time.
It wasn't, but it could have been.
Could have been.
It was close.
We don't know that. We don't have those pictures.
Honestly, if
they confiscated a lot of other.
Oh, the guy actually, maybe if
like
the shooter
from down here,
if the shooter in the sewer that the documentary I watched claims to be there.
Oh, is there really?
Have you? Oh, you haven't heard that theory?
I'm done with it. I just want to know what they actually report, because I know they reported it. Just tell me what you said.
No, I was watching a doc.
Oh, that's weird.
I forget what that doc was called. All the World's a Stage or something like that. And it was like a 3-hour, and there was like a 40-minute JFK chunk. And they were like, yeah, there was Oswald, and then there's like 7 other guys in buildings, and there's one dude in the fucking sewer. Which
still no grassy knoll.
Maybe?
Or is he one of the 7?
I forget if he said grassy.
And how come
knoll.
no women shooters, guys? Come on.
Man. Well, we haven't had DEI.
I mean,
do you think they do that? They'd be like, maybe that's why.
That's why they missed.
That's
Trump.
why they didn't get Trump.
Yeah,
they had.
We did it.
They had the lady do it that day. They're like, wait, who's shooting Trump today? They're like, oh, the fucking Asian lesbian non-binary chick. They're like, God damn it!
God damn it!
Oh, so. Yeah, she does the breathy singing, and I think that was, so we're in a time period where if you find out the president's cheating on his wife, like that's it. Dude, it was a problem that he was Catholic.
Yeah, that was a huge problem. Yeah.
That was a huge problem that it almost didn't get him elected, that he was fucking Catholic.
Yeah.
So, wait, was he Catholic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So you got to think it's a different time. They cut off access to Marilyn Monroe, and I think she was, like, for lack of a better word, was just, like, getting a little bit more mouthy. I think she was, like, threatening. She was basically threatening around, like, yo, I'm going to talk some shit because you guys are, like, fucking ghosting me and boxing me out. And it just, like, dude, when I'm hearing the timeline or everything, the timeline and everything, it just feels like an episode of Sopranos.
Yeah.
Where I don't even think JFK and them knew about it. I think the mob, because they were still... Now, eventually, JFK got the mob pissed. That's why there's a decent chance the mob helped kill him.
Well, the mob got him elected.
They got...
then they got him out.
And it's like, they still... Like, we still like him. This fucking bitch is going to blow up our spot. I bet you it was like a Sopranos thing where they're like, it's not even that we want to do it to cover our asses. We just have to get her out of here.
That is the biggest... And that's the thing, is like if anything, like those are... Like when you say, like, how could they get away with it for this long? If it's the mob, there's no question. Like, if they killed Kennedy or Monroe or anybody, there's no question in my mind that they could keep it silent for this long, because they'll just kill whoever doesn't keep the secret.
And you don't realize...
Or whoever speculates, or whoever even they suspect may do it, or just all the witnesses in general.
And for every fucking Jimmy Hoffa, or who's the one with the podcast now, Sammy the Bull?
Yeah.
For every Jimmy Hoffa and Sammy the Bull, there's 20 other guys that we don't know about who's never said a fucking word.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So like it's kind of interesting in that sense, but here's a quick timeline of like her last kind of her day. 4:30 p.m. Monroe's psychiatrist Ralph Greenson arrived at the house to conduct a therapy session and asked Newcomb to leave. Before Greenson left around 7 p.m., he asked Murray to stay overnight and keep Monroe company. At approximately 7 to 7:15, Monroe received a call from Joe DiMaggio. With whom? Sorry. Well, it says Junior, and I was like, who's mom? Like, what the fuck? With whom she stayed close to since her divorce from his father. So that's what it was. Yeah, it was their son, the elder Joe DiMaggio. DiMaggio told Monroe that he had broken up with his girlfriend and that he did not like, and he detected nothing alarming in Monroe's behavior. At around 7:40 to 7:45, Monroe telephoned Greenson to tell him the news about the breakup of DiMaggio and his girlfriend, which is weird too. You can call your doctor. See, that's the other thing too. I think the thing that kind of happened with Michael Jackson, that I suspect happened, was like, when you're inner circle, instead of it being like, oh, I just keep these people that I've known for years, and like when it starts becoming like, I'm calling my doctor to tell him about my son breaking up. Like, what?
Dude, I was talking...
Even if it's a therapy session, of just to be like, what the... Like, we just did a session.
I was talking to...
I'll talk to you tomorrow, bitch.
Yeah, dude. I was talking to my friend. I was talking to one of my buddies about
friend.
This. What?
Like that. I'm not... Not you.
You're my friend.
No, with her.
You
and
said
her.
I was your friend earlier.
Her and her doctor.
Oh, okay.
Me and you are not.
Wait, you're not my doctor?
No, we're family. But yeah.
No, I was talking to one of my friends who's my doctor the other day. No, like we were talking about fucking some celebrity that was like pretty sick his whole life, and then when he got like big, we were like just saying he kind of like fell off a little bit.
Yeah.
From like how cool he was, and we were kind of being like, yeah, because there's no one to like. He doesn't have a circle around him anymore to call him a Frieza.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a big thing where it's like that's why like you'll see rappers. They'll be like, who's that guy? What does he do? And you're like, that's just his buddy from back in the day who calls him a pussy, so he keeps his ego in check.
Yeah, they go like, why are you wearing that shirt? That looks so.
Yeah, that's
dumb.
all that guy is. Like that dude who, because I've experienced it a lot in comedy when, like, I've had friends who like blow up and stuff like that, and you think you're gonna like look at them differently, and you're like, oh no, they just have more. It's just weird because your friend has more influence over the world.
I think
but you don't like look at them any differently, so you're still able to be like real with them.
And if those other people start if they start coming into the circle, you can at least say like, I'm not gonna do it.
What's
you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what I noticed.
Like you can check those people too.
Yeah, that's what I noticed about like being fucking friends with Lemaire. Like I remember this was before he got any like notoriety, but like there's people like us who like know Lemaire, and then there's other people who like Lemaire and they think they know him. Where like remember back in the day there's 5 funny women thing.
Yeah.
There was like he was going off about this shitting on shitty comics in Philly and stuff, And then I remember seeing some comments and be like, "This is not the Lemaire I know." I go, "This is the Lemaire I
Yeah, that's
know." What do you
absolutely
You
Lemaire.
don't know who he is.
You ever driven with that guy?
Yeah, so I'm like, dude, if there's any task I have, it's to every day remind Lemaire he's a pussy.
Yeah.
Because
that's
I'm a
our
good
duty.
friend.
That's our duty. So around 8 p.m., Monroe retired to her bedroom. She received a call from actor Peter Lawford, brother-in-law of who? President Kennedy.
Woo.
Who was hoping to persuade her to attend his party that night. Which can I just place one of my little theory flags here?
Slide it right in.
Let me go blink, and I go.
Do it
I
again.
think that was Plan A.
Come again?
I think this conversation at 8 p.m. was
Yeah.
Plan A.
Him
I think-
call and tell her to come to the party?
Yeah, he's like, "What? Come on, why don't you come to the party?
to be like,
come
Why
on."
you come to the party? We're all doing
Then
lewds.
you got
Lewds are still legal.
You got car accident. You got possible overdose there. You got
Well, I've told
Slip
you
and
about
fall.
it. I told you about it in a lot of my conspiracy books.
Yeah.
The fucking heart attack and brakes not working are a common use.
and this is you went real Boston on that. A
Common
real
use.
common use. There,
Common use. You use that a lot.
common
Hey,
use,
Bobby,
too.
we gotta kill this bitch. She
There's-
sucked me off so good she's gonna tell everyone.
But I think this is if I can plant my own little flag. I think this was them saying like, all right, so we can get the bitch out of the house. We'll get her to this party, and we'll take care of her. Well, I think the mob essentially will like Jimmy Hoffa her. Essentially, like she'll go like, okay, I'll go to that address, and she walks in, and bam, roll her up in a carpet, cremate her, boom, they're gone.
Just like a Goodfellas, Marilyn Monroe.
I'm telling you, like, yeah,
shit.
shot, yeah,
Dude, honestly,
that's how it's speculated that happened to Hoffa.
Yeah.
Essentially, he was like, oh, I'm
Oh,
going
yeah,
to.
isn't
I'm
that
gonna
what
go,
that scene's based off of?
As I'm gonna go. Well, it's so even in the movie The Irishman, which I still stand behind, is spoiler alert. It kind of
Or do you stand behind a lawn, man? And put your dick in their
don't
butts.
what continue it.
It's called love making. Everyone.
It's called love making.
God, Pat, you're so 2000 and late.
But there's essentially a scene where they kind of use a meeting offered to mend fences after he was given his final warning and he already fucked up.
Yeah.
Then the mafia. If the mafia is nice to you after they've given you the final ultimatum,
Yeah.
that means they're going to invite you to a house. So I think this is like, I mean, whether they're, I think if anything, the mafia in the 1960s is probably one of the most consistent.
They're
agencies
reasonable.
in the world.
Yeah.
They're basically running like a government-funded, well-oiled machine.
Brother, I'll get you this Whitney Webb book you got to read.
But this is a situation where this is their fucking MO.
Yeah.
This is what they go. They go like, oh, Marilyn Monroe, because she's just like, well, happy. And they're like, all right, take it easy. And then she's just like, I'm gonna start keeping notes. And they're like, stop fucking doing this shit. Stop. And then and then they're like, hey, you want to go to the party? And she's just like,
No, use that car.
yeah.
Use that car.
No, the one in the back. It's Robert De Niro. No, a little further. Hey, you gotta. He does this.
No, dude, it's the like. He's like, no, he's like,
Go in the. Yeah, go around. Go in there. Yeah, and then like she just looks down there. Yeah, so it's essentially, I think that's what.
like, there's no coats down here.
But so this is an interesting thing. He was hoping to persuade her to come to a party. Lawford became alarmed because Monroe sounded like she was under the influence of drugs. That's what he's reporting. He said she told him, quote, "Say goodbye to Pat. Thank you. Say goodbye to the president." They actually
like and subscribe to his YouTube
yeah,
channel.
like and subscribe. She said, "Say goodbye to the president and say goodbye to yourself because you're a nice guy."
What?
If those are her last words, that's awful.
Wait, that's what she said?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Hey.
That's where that started. Before drifting off, unable to reach her again, Lawford called the agent, his agent, Milton Ebbins, who unsuccessfully tried to reach Greenson, who later called Monroe's lawyer, Mickey Rudin. Rudin called Monroe's house and was assured by Murray that she was fine. See, that's another thing. Okay, so now Murray's like, she's like, all right, I'm over here to keep an eye on her. This guy that just got off the phone with her is like, she's like, say goodbye to yourself. Say goodbye to the president. Say goodbye to Pat. Love you.
She's like, hey, just double
Great.
check.
My favorite comic. Love that mermaid joke he does. So funny.
That's where he got the name of his production company.
That's where he got it.
That's why it's called that.
It's fun fact, actually.
Fun fact. Fun fact.
But yeah, like, and then like,
and then right as she died, she went, Gabrish. No, it's so funny to be like, hey, when you saw her last, was she dead?
Well, he's like, she sounds fucked up, and which is understandable. So maybe Murray was like, maybe her housekeeper.
Oh no,
was like,
it must have been all the drugs she did.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He's like, maybe she's like, I don't. That's kind of just how she is.
That's what she does.
That's what she always is. But like, apparently, he was at least like, well, she sounds crazy. She definitely can't drive here.
Well, and that actually coincides a little bit with like, I do hope we talk about Michael Jackson because like that's the theory on him is like he actually wasn't going crazy.
Yeah.
And they put like the Wacko Jacko moniker on him to sort of make people almost accept his death or murder or whatever.
Yeah.
To like people,
his unaliving.
People almost accept that more so because they're like, oh yeah, it was bound to happen, that crazy goof.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think what everybody thinks is essentially if unless somebody more rich wants you dead, rich people can live forever. So at approximately 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, August 5th, Murray woke up to a quote, sensing that something was wrong. This is where it gets. This is what I'm saying, man.
Someone feels dead.
At 3:30 in the morning, she's just like, "There's a dead, beautiful woman in here.
Some sexy tits
I
don't
can
have
smell
blood
it.
flowing through them anymore.
Dead, gorgeous tush somewhere just about." So
what time is this?
3:30, approximately 3:30 a.m.
Because wasn't there a thing with her
The witching
death?
hour.
Wasn't there a thing with her death where they were like she actually died at like 1
So
and
this
then they
is-
didn't call the fucking ambulance till like 4?
This is the speculation. So that I was going to get into that in a little bit, but she's still alive technically. Something felt wrong. So if she saw, oh yeah, this was the phone cord, I think. She saw a light from under Monroe's bedroom door, but she was not able to get a response and found the door locked. Marie telephoned Greenson, and on whose advice she looked through the window. She saw Monroe laying face down on her bed, naked, covered by a sheet, and clutching the telephone receiver. That's the weird part. Bitches be talking. Greenson arrived shortly thereafter. See, and this is the thing. Okay, I see her like. It looks like she like at least as of right now she's like she's fucked up. Like at least she's fucked up for sure. But like we need to get at least her physician in here. So then Greenson arrived shortly thereafter. He entered the room by breaking the window and found Monroe dead. He called her physician, Hyman Engelberg, who all coming together, who arrived at the house around 3:50 a.m.
Sorry. You hit the Ed on coming in the G, and I was like, Pat, what are you... Oh. It's crazy how you hit it. Anyway, go on.
Who arrived at the house around 3:50 a.m. and officially confirmed the death at 4:25 a.m. 4:25 a.m. They confirmed by calling the Los Angeles Police Department. So the deputy coroner, Thomas Noguchi, sounds awfully Italian, maybe, conducted Monroe's autopsy on the same day she was found dead, Sunday, August 5th. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office was assisted in the inquest by psychiatrists Norman Fairborough, Robert Littman, and Norman
Tabachink.
I like when you read these and you're like, who wrote this?
Well, no, this is part of the Wikipedia part. This is like
okay.
the trying to get.
Yeah.
But it was like because this is going to be time of death shit here.
Sure.
So they interviewed Monroe's doctors and psychiatrists on her mental state based on the advanced state of rigor mortis at the time of her body was discovered. It's estimated that she died between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m.
And they didn't call until like 4 a.m.?
Right. So the toxicology analysis, this was another interesting fact, concluded the cause of death was acute barbiturate poisoning. She had 8 milligrams of chloral hydrate. So chloral hydrate was discovered in her body. And I think it was her doctor. Did I have that still? So chloral hydrate was found in her liver, and after the toxicology, Engelberg, her physician, said, "I had not given that to her, nor would any doctor in this country. She must have gotten it from Tijuana." So
those got to be Tijuana barbiturates.
There was no signs of external wounds, bruises on the body, yada yada yada. But that doesn't mean that she possibly wasn't murdered. So I saw also a thing that said that the amount of pills that she had taken. Oh yeah, I think that was the police officer. So this was an interesting thing. The first police officer on scene, Jack Clemens, says she looked like she had been stripped down and placed in the position she was in.
Oh yeah, she was like laying oddly straight, right?
Right. It was like she was staged essentially.
Yeah. It looked like her titties were jiggled.
He said she looked perfect. There was no note.
Dude, can you imagine the mobsters that got hired to kill her? And the one guy's like, "Come on, Bobby, don't do it." He's like, we're gonna murder Marilyn, and I'm not gonna get to grab a titty.
You know what it was? It was just one of those things. They did this. They killed her, and then they went like this and went, "What a waste." What a waste. She's a perfectly good, beautiful woman.
Don't fucking. He just turns. He's like, "Hey, don't fucking tell anyone, Tony."
Yeah. Oh, come on. Your mother's watching. But no, there's a.
God bless her soul up in heaven.
So they didn't. So essentially, I guess he didn't find a note. There was also a point that he pointed out in his interview was that he's like, I looked around. There's no note. There's no glass of water, and she had taken multiple. It's like one of those things where he's like, it's like a thing like she had like taken all those pills and just immediately went like, like she didn't like, but he apparently was like, look, this is a terrible police officer on this case. So like either this is just how bad cops were at the time. Like the mob wasn't perfect, but like he was just like, it looks like she took a lot of pills. Wait a minute. There's no glass of water around here.
Well,
that's fishy.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
going to go look in the kitchen.
She's only been a drug addict her entire life. It's going to be hard for her to take pills. But didn't she to meet him halfway.
Yeah.
Didn't she take like an unreasonably large amount?
As apparently like 40 pills are suspected to have been taken, but they're like that's sorry, I just farted. That smells really bad.
Okay. It hasn't gotten over here yet.
It will. It will. But like they're like nobody could have taken. But I think it's like factually like you know how like when the places that have legal suicide will have to give you something to coat your stomach because the poison they're giving you is so strong that like you can't. Maybe you haven't done as much research on assisted suicide as I have.
You're like, oh boy. Oh yeah, I know. The fuck? Oh, yeah, you're fucking planning on moving to Canada.
there's a thing. I think in the Netherlands. There's a thing where like
Canada too.
They give you like a Washington State actually also has it. They have legalized bestiality too, but they have a.
I don't like either of those.
Stanley starts biting me at that exact moment. Careful, buddy. We'll go to Washington.
Don't fuck me.
But there's like a so like there. I think what they're saying is like she could not have like kept that many pills down essentially.
Yeah.
Like her body would have rejected. Like so like you got to have like there's a sweet spot when it comes to overdosing apparently. You know.
No, I mean it's true. Because there's people who they don't take enough and they can't kill themselves, and then they'll take, like you just said, they'll take too many and they'll throw it up.
So this was the interesting thing. He asked why it took 4 hours for the police to call, or for them to call the police. Sorry, after at least
suspecting something or like discovering that she was dead. And Dr. Ralph Greenson, Marilyn Monroe's psychiatrist, said that they had to get clearance from the publicity department of the studio before they could notify anybody because of like public relations. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah. It is like fucking. Yeah, and it kind of just goes back into how much of a product she was treated like.
So, Dr. Engelberg, her personal physician, believes that she was in a manic state and something may have caused to depress her or like make her like flip her, essentially.
She's like, I don't have water for all these 40 pills.
And also chlorohydrate was found in her liver. So like that was the thing where he was just like, unless she literally went out of the state to get this, like this this would not be prescribed by any doctor anywhere.
Yeah.
Like even shady ones. Like I'm a personal physician and this would not.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
So they're like having that amount is really suspicious.
It just really any amount like that's not a normal thing.
Oh,
like,
any amount.
Why do you have
point.
this in your system?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So decades after denying it, Eunice Murray reveals that Bobby Kennedy was at Monroe's house, and she believes that he could be what upset Monroe so much. So she said the situation had gotten too, quote, sticky, and the Kennedys prosecutors had to step in, or protectors, excuse me. So, like, essentially, I think what Eunice's theory is that, like, because of the situation, I think much like Hoffa involving the mob to take care of issues with other union leaders in other like places and everything.
Yeah.
Like I think it's very hastily thought out. People involve the mob, and then the mob like sinks into whatever it is and takes over whatever it is. So like the same thing that happened to Hoffa, I think kind of happened to Marilyn Monroe, where it's just this thing where like, or the Kennedys in Monroe, where the Kennedys were like, hey, can you do anything about this fucking Marilyn Monroe lady? She's like, I think she's going to fucking, look, we thought she was cool. She's not fucking cool. And they're just like, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. So, like, I don't know if maybe a hit was put out and maybe Bobby Kennedy was there that night. I don't know if in general, like, it's pretty undeniable, like we said, that there was some involvement with Monroe and the Kennedy brothers, at least. So it just kind of maybe when you're involved with, you can't just necessarily fuck around when it's a world leader and there's like Cuba's involved, the mob's involved, the CIA's involved. Nobody's necessarily playing ball with anybody. So the mob is kind of brought in. Again, like I said, the mob seems to be utilized in the 1960s like a government agency. That's the best way I can put it. It's like a really well-oiled machine, and they are taking out world leaders, major celebrities.
Yeah,
they're taking out.
They
like
basically used in that time period. They basically used the mob as their police force, or their not so much their police force. They're like. They use the mob as basically like the fucking SEAL Team 6 for illegal shit that they had to do, for like covert shit.
And this is the headline.
Because actually, too, it coincides with, because the, wait, was this?
This is the headline.
Oh, Marilyn Monroe kills self.
Marilyn Monroe kills self. Found nude in bed. Hand on phone. Took 40 pills. This is like and like also no picture. Like not even like a nice like portrait of her, nothing. Just somebody like, you know, like how we can remember her or something like that. But
the thing I was gonna say, I just thought a bit about this right now. You got to remember too, this is the early 60s. The CIA, I mean, they can organize enough to get fucking Kennedy murdered, but they're not at the fighting for, they're not like, they're still establishing themselves like that. So they would utilize the mob a lot more with shit like this.
And that's what I'm saying is like, this is, I think just from like the fact that like, because when it comes to substance abuse, substance abusers in general, it is really easy to make them like to kill them, to ascend.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy to make it look like an accident, I guess, or an accidental overdose,
Well,
or a
that's
suicide, or whatever. Like whatever
I've
it may be.
I've read that about a lot of human trafficking victims. Is one of the reasons they get them on drugs is, besides it's just easier to control them if they, overstay their welcome or they need to get them out of here. Killing them becomes much easier because you can easily just be like, oh, they overdosed.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna question it when she has a reputation of a declining star. So like that is also another unfortunate thing with. I won't even say just in general, just women's plight in Hollywood and in the media, but just in general, like Hollywood starlets, and or celebrities in general, is like they're way more invasive. I mean, they're like, that's how it's reported, like nude in bed, dead, hand on phone, took 40 pills, like that's just like, all right, goddamn, like crazy, but nobody's going like, I don't know about that. Like everybody's going like, nuts, like because of the reputation.
Was there no? Because I know,
well, the toxicology, like I said, that's essentially the extent of my research of like, to me, again, I think like a lot of our research when it was going through like the conspiracy era of the research era was like a lot of it kind of just seems like, no, it's probably not that it's nothing, but it's also like it seems a little bit more rooted in reality of I think Marilyn Monroe done Jimmy Hoffa herself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was only asking because I was asking basically, you know how like people forget, like after Roswell, people weren't talking about that till like a book came out in the 70s, and even you had to be like hardcore into space. It wasn't until the 90s that the Roswell shit got mainstream.
Yeah.
People were talking of conspiracies about Kennedy like right after it happened. So I was wondering if it like the Monroe thing picked up right after, or it took a while for people to even consider it to be a murder.
From what I saw, it was the 1980s, and like I said, like the
the
LA coroner's office
you
reopened
said they
it,
reopened it,
and they go like, well, we don't see any evidence. Like, well, yeah, you don't see any evidence because that was like, again, if you think about the timeline, maybe she wasn't killed somewhere else. It was not like a Jim Morrison thing where like maybe she died somewhere else and they brought her there. Like she was most likely murdered there, if murdered for sure. Or it could have been anything. So it could have been they got to wherever she gets her pills from, or they got to one of her pill bottles, and they put in hydro,
a higher dose,
whatever whatever that fucking shit was. Maybe after they saw that she had taken those pills and that she was dying, like, and she was just like, oh shit, they fucking finally got me. Say goodbye to everybody, bye-bye, and hung up, and they're like, cool. And then they just took the rest of her pills and threw them away, and were just like, because they didn't say like that they found 40 pills in her.
Yeah.
They just found out that they found like that number of, and nobody questions it.
That equivalent of 40 pills. That doesn't necessarily mean it was
not
40 actual pills.
Like they saw that, well, she had just gotten her prescriptions, I think, filled not too long before that, and all of the pill bottles were empty. They saw those, saw the dead lady, and were like, damn, she took all those? Really?
Yeah.
So like the speculation becomes the story at the beginning. They do the toxicology and the autopsy the same day, but if that guy's on the take as well, then he's going to be like, yep, looks pretty crazy. And then still report it, but nobody knows to go like, what's hydrochloride? Like, he's just like, shut up, nerd.
Shut up,
She's
idiot.
fucking, the lady died. Like, she's pretty. Why are you tarnishing her name? You're like, something like that. Like, it's a tragic accident.
Yeah.
Or possible suicide, most likely murder. And I think it was because of her involvement with the Kennedys, which is, there is, for as little as I could find with the conspiracy about Jim Morrison's death, I found too much on Marilyn Monroe.
Really?
There's so many different, and it's all like, it's what you want to touch on.
Yeah.
And what I really wanted to focus on was like why she would have such a crazy substance abuse issue, and then the fact that she's continuing to get manipulated all her life.
Yeah.
It seems like her being taken out, if they can take out Jimmy Hoffa and if they can take out John F. Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe, who is known to have a substance abuse problem, is the easiest of all. Like, so I think
that's why I compare
to not even speculate it that it's that, and like the fact that she's wilding out with like going like, hey, so anyway, Mr. President, and then he's just like, my wife's right fucking here. Like,
no, that's why I kind of compare it to.
Wasn't there a joke like that?
What?
Wasn't there a joke like that? Didn't Dave Chappelle do something like that? Isn't it Killing Him Softly, where he's just like, shut up, bitch, my wife's here. Like,
oh yeah, probably.
Like that's what I think of every time. It's just like kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? I thought you were cool, bitch.
Oh, but yeah, that's why I kind of like it felt very Sopranos-y to me.
Yeah,
because the nature of it. Like, I literally don't even think it... Like, I don't think the Kennedys knew what was going to happen. I don't even think it was anything personal. I think it was literally just like, yo, we got to cover our shit because you're getting too mouthy.
Yeah, I think she was, instead of becoming like a Gumar, a little side piece, whatever it may be, whatever she was to them, she became a liability.
Oh,
and once you become a liability and the mob is involved, I think the mob has to take over and be like, look, Mr. President... it's better. The less you know, the better. You know what I mean? Like literally, it could be just that, and it could just have been straight up mob hit.
Yeah, or it could have literally been on the level of like, you know, they were they were talking about Marilyn, and then a week or two later, you see the news, and no one really has a conversation about it. But Kennedy quietly to himself, he knows. You know what I mean? Yeah. He
Thank God. Like, and he's like, anyway, on to Dallas.
Anyway, time to break up that CIA. And then the mob's like, wait a minute.
Whoa.
The CIA pays us.
Yo, Johnny F. What's going on here? Yo, Johnny F's.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh, and also, the last thing, comparing it to The Sopranos, she got me horny like Adriana. You were saying, too, about how they just kind of, like, they report it, not a lot of questions, keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's honestly, like, actually, the spoiler alert, when Adriana gets killed, there is, like, it's not that they don't bring it up later, but it's kind of like the next episode, it's kind of just like, all right, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And it was such a big moment that it's, like, fucking crazy to move on like that. But that's also... the nature of this shit. That's why I keep saying it's like this. Everyone always likes to. I think movies and TV really build these narratives and like add a lot of fanfare to this stuff. And it's like, no, you got to realize the mob is just like the mob is the thing. We have to protect the thing.
Yeah.
So like, if there's loose ends, you gotta cut them off.
And I think that's unfortunately what it comes down to is like the mob doing their shit is like the closest we've come so far to like at least Russia. Like that's how Russia does shit. Like that's how Russia's always reported to us being like this really cold, like really like you cannot share secrets, and they just poison their like own like people, or they like kill people for being spies and shit. Like, and you're like, oh my God. And we act like we don't do that shit, but like you see over the years what's been exposed that America does, and we're like we are just as bad as that. We do our own coups.
Well, the difference
we do our own fucking just murder. Like we murder for funds.
The difference between us and those other countries is like in other countries, you get pulled over by the cops. You just hand the cop money and he goes, go on with your way.
Yeah.
Here, that's not how you bribe the cops.
No.
You have to bribe them a different way, and then all this and that. So it's actually... it's kind of funny. I would actually rather pay off the cop in the moment.
Yeah.
Because then it's like the only people, it's just like, oh, now you make it a rich man's game to bribe people. Why can't the working man bribe someone?
If I give you this whole Monster Energy drink, will you forget to show up in court if I dispute this, officer? That's a full 64 ounce.
Yeah. And also, you got to remember, back in our day, it was 3 for $6. Now it's 2 for $6,
okay.
officer. Okay.
So yeah, I think overall from
sugar free.
I think that if she didn't die at 36, she could have probably died at 37 just of natural barbiturates. I love barbiturates. That's such a fun word. I don't know what it is. That does feel like exactly,
a classier way to talk about a drug addiction.
I do barbiturates, sir, and I have mental illness.
And then I play the piano and I have a glass of tea.
But she overall a beautiful woman that should never have been judged so much on her looks. But I mean, can't argue with results.
What? Wait, what?
She looked great.
Oh, okay.
Also, she died,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And I do think that I think it's my personal theory is, and I think like yours is just maybe the Kennedys they weren't actively involved in it.
Yeah.
They may have even like been like the Frank Sheeran of that era, which Frank Sheeran was the guy who was the main hitman for Hoffa for a long time, and then the mob ended up going like, well, we got to trust you, spoiler alert, you're the only guy he trusts, so like you got to do this hit. And like so he ended up being, so it might have been the same thing where like, because even up until then he's like Jimmy, you gotta take it easy, and he's just like no, he's like no, seriously, take it easy, you gotta stop. Like he was like just really trying to plead with this guy who just had gotten out of hand. And essentially maybe the same thing where she was right to be in the situation or the mood that she was in, because she's been pushed around so much. Like even now world leaders are just using her and it's never getting better for her necessarily.
It's not to like, I'm not even like blaming her for her own death, because it's like there are these situations where
it's not as ego
it's like you're almost justified running your mouth.
Yeah.
But you also
she absolutely is. Yeah.
100% justified running her mouth. But like you also got to understand whether you like them or not, there are responses to you running your mouth in certain scenarios.
I would like to see, much like the Kennedy thing. It's the same feeling I have is like, it doesn't really matter what the truth is at this point. And there's really, even if it does become the most outrageous thing, it's just, I just want to know. Like that's the same thing. That's one of the things that I look forward to when I die is hopefully I'll get to like learn things that I don't know. Like if there is an afterlife, being able to be like, so did Hitler die like in his 60s in Argentina, or did he die in 1945? Did he die like, did this happen? Like, it's like shit like that, just to be like, I can't change anything if I know it.
There's so many German towns in Texas, God.
Stuff like that. Like, I just want to know, like all the speculated things, like what was actually true. I don't need to know
Dude, I've definitely hit a similar point too, where there are certain things where it's like, I think when you get into a lot of this stuff, you have that like, I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah.
And now, not that I like don't care if things get fixed. Like I told you, I've been getting I don't know if I've told you yet, but I've been getting way more into the CIA mind control stuff. But like back in the day, I'd be researching a topic because I'm like, I'm gonna go on a podcast and I'm gonna tell the truth, and then people are gonna be like, whoa, that's so fucking true, and da da da. And I was more driven by shit like that. Now I'm like, I'm just really fucking curious about MK Ultra, so I'm gonna read a bunch of stuff on MK Ultra. I'm a comic who podcasts, so I'll probably figure out a way to talk into a camera about it. Yeah. And then it's like, if something happens from that, good. But if it doesn't, I'm just gonna keep having a good old day.
Yeah, I think that's like what this comes down to is like, I don't know if like I never really gave it a like peace of mind with like Marilyn Monroe, her death and everything. Of it being a conspiracy or murder, overdose, suicide, whatever it was. But like looking at her history, I mean this with all due respect, and this not in the same vein as when I said it about Jim Morrison, okay? But I'm really happy she's dead. Because she was suffering, dude. Oh. Her life was pure suffering. It's not for the same reason. I'm happy Jim Morrison's dead because he's a vapid hippie. Her
categorically made the world worse.
Her life was suffering.
Yeah.
Like aside from the actual celebrity, and then even the celebrity that she did get, she has so much anxiety, mental illness, and all the stuff that's going unchecked, or just they're throwing medications at her, and she's just like I said, self-medicating, professionally medicating. And I don't necessarily, from what I saw from a lot of her doctors' interviews and stuff like that, I don't think they were involved. I don't think it's fishy on that end. I think it is possible she could have possibly overdosed. Like that's all totally a possibility.
Well, she did.
Well,
when
I'm
those
just saying
pills got jammed in her mouth.
Yeah.
But it's also like if you said also it's 100% likely that the mob forced her to do that.
Yeah.
The mob tampered with her pills. The government, the whatever. None of it would be like. I would just go, oh yeah, I can see that too. But it's just one of those things that like I'm just glad that she doesn't have to like adhere to all this bullshit with her contract. The fact that they didn't even call anybody for 4 hours because of the clause in her contract with the publicity department. Like the fact that they're like, oh, we don't want to make the studio look bad, so let's not talk about it's the craziest thing where like that's the thing that I'm reading that I'm like, that's the thing where I go, oh, God damn, that's cold as fuck. She's dead.
Yeah.
Like, but they're like, well, we don't want the studio to look bad. But then if you've heard some of the crazy, like, and I don't think these are allegations. I think these are just stories of like, I can't remember the guy, but it's like, he has like one of those silly old names like Slappy Dappy or like Fats something. I can't remember who it was, but like, somebody that would like to see people get fucked by bottles or something like that, like a 40s or 50s film star. God, Fatty Arbuckle?
TJ Miller?
I think it's Fatty Arbuckle.
Just kidding, big fan, TJ.
But there's something like that where you're like, dude, it's just as crazy back then as it's always been.
Yeah.
Like, so like, why wouldn't somebody?
Well, that's like it like almost coincides with. Have you ever heard someone say like, I just wish journalists were how they were back in the day?
Yeah.
And I go, I don't think they were better back in the day. I think they just had more composure and were like they were just more pleasant on the front. And I think it's the same thing with like, it's like, yeah, I think a lot of times with a lot of this stuff, there's sort of like, yeah, it's been kind of like a real bad thing. I just think now it's harder to cover that stuff up.
Yeah.
I think what Marilyn Monroe's whole situation shows is like wanting that. I don't know. It's weird because I'm a big fan of all these forms of entertainment and I like participating in them. We just found out I'm the comedic actor of our generation.
Right.
So I'm like a big fan of that. But also it just seems like, I think over time with the fact that there's a lot less gatekeepers now. There's going to be substantially more every decade going forward. But I think for a while when you wanted to get into sort of one of the arts like that, there was like, it was hard to do it at a high level in a way where you're like, hey, you can do all this, but you basically have to be our product.
Yes.
And I think Marilyn Monroe was a victim of, and like,
there's a little bit of soul selling. Yeah.
A lot of bit of soul selling.
Yeah.
And not even like, it's like the time period, her being a woman, her being so like sexually attractive in the way she was.
Yeah.
It was just like, you were just destined to be caught up in this like hurricane of nonsense.
Yeah. So this is a weird thing with a little fun thing about Fatty Arbuckle. On Monday, September 5th, 1921, Labor Day, Arbuckle took a break from his hectic film schedule and despite suffering second-degree burns on both of his buttocks from an on-set accident, drove to San Francisco.
You tell me he did all this with a burnt butt?
With a burnt butt. Drove to San Francisco with two friends, Lowell Sherman and Fred Fishback. The three checked into 3 rooms at the St. Francis Hotel. Several women were invited to the suite during a carousing. A 30-year-old aspiring actress named Virginia Rapp was found seriously ill in room 1219 and was examined by a hotel doctor who concluded that her symptoms were mostly caused by intoxication and administered morphine to calm her. Rapp was not hospitalized until 2 days after the incident. At the hospital, Rapp's companion at the party, Bambina Maud Delmont, told the doctor that Arbuckle had R-worded Rapp, had rapped Rapp, and
he retarded her?
He rapped her, and and the doctor examined Rapp but found no evidence of Rapp. So she died apparently Friday, September 9th. Jesus Christ, 1921 from periodontitis caused by a ruptured bladder.
Rapp suffered from chronic urinary tract infections and condition that liquor irritated dramatically.
Jesus.
Days after her death, Arbuckle was arrested and arraigned on charges of murder and was held without bail. A grand jury also indicted him on manslaughter of the first degree on September 13th, 1921.
Oh, this is the 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's crazy, dude. So yeah, sorry. That was the thing. So like that's fatty. When you hear Fatty Arbuckle, what I picture is like Charlie Chaplin era, like these weird old timey, like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what are you doing over there?
Hey, how'd you get a
And they're
pussy in
just
your
like,
bottle? How'd you get a ball in your
You
pussy?
ruptured this
darling?
woman's bladder, you murderous manslaughter fuck.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. I
It's
couldn't
pretty fat though.
What?
It's pretty fat. Even for then, like you know, you hear fatty, and then like you see a picture of him, and
I
you're
saw
like,
that dude at an open mic the other night. It looks like
he might be a vampire.
yeah, that looks like so many open mic comics.
But it's just like back then, like you see this shit, and like it's dark back then, man. It's
Well, I
crazy.
think
and people are just getting away with shit.
Well, I think it like a lot of stuff like that is like I don't think that was his first day trying that.
No, and that's what
you know
I'm
what I
saying.
mean.
Yeah.
I think you become that. It's like the theory people have on. Now I think there's a lot of people who are pedophiles that are day one pedophiles. You know, OGs.
Drake.
Started from the bottom and I'm still a pedophile. But no, there's the theory which I don't know if I'm convinced of it. We don't have to get all into it because we got other stuff to do. But
Yeah.
I'm like, there's that theory where it's like you get so rich and famous and you have so much sex at a certain point you just switch the kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that.
I just don't.
But
I hope not. I don't ever want to get that successful.
yeah, right.
And I'm not hanging out with Shane anymore.
What if it's like
Who's that, Shane? Who is that?
What if you realize
Whose nephew is that?
What if you realize it's one front row ticket to UFC and you're like, anybody got a kid? They're just like,
I'll have a little baby's blood.
they're like, oh my God, Pat, you were so close to just doing that. You've always been so close to just getting into this.
Look, it's the main and the co-main. I mean, just saying.
Oh fuck, that's funny. Yeah, but no, I do think when it becomes like sexual aggression, because I think the more rich and famous, like especially dude back in the day, you really think Fatty Arbuckle, this
Yeah.
top actor, is looking at like, was this chick? I forget, was this chick a hooker or was
They were just ladies that came to hang out.
You think she? But wherever he
The
got
ladies
that,
that came to hang out.
you
Andy.
think he looks at her as like equal to him? No, he's
No.
gonna shove a bottle up her pussy and kill her by septic tanks. We go to the next
Sepsis.
podcast.
Yeah.
Can I have another Japanese beer and a new podcast?
Another Japanese beer and a new podcast. And next week's topic, I think we pretty much decided it's got to be Michael Jackson.
MJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hee hee.
Hee hee.
Hee hee.
I will look into the conspiracies and blame them appropriately.
I'm happy. I lived through this one. I'm gonna be. This is
We
gonna be
both
exciting.
did.
Yeah. Wait, you did too?
I'm only 4 years younger than you. I'm like 3 years younger than you. Are you 30?
You remember that?
I took you so seriously when you did that.
All right. And so I'm gonna make a note of this. So Michael Jackson. I'll start doing research. I'm doing. We're gonna go crazy. That's gonna be a 4-hour episode.
Honestly, if we need to, we can do that as a two-parter.
It might be. I don't know.
Honestly, this one was getting into two-parter territory.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm not mad.
Well,
at all.
we had a tire blowout.
I'm not mad at all.
We had a tire.
Yeah, possible two-parter.
Tires.
Oh yeah, Tires season 2 is out June 6th.
I just changed one. That's exactly how it's connected.
For the love of God, hit stop. Stop this podcast right now.